Welcome to Beyond the Surface. With me, Debbie Anne Turnbull. Here we dive deeper than the obvious to explore what really keeps our families safe and our minds strong. After losing my only son Chris to drowning, I've dedicated my life to water safety education and helping others heal. With many years of training and personal experience, I'm here to help you navigate your challenges, because the most important truths are found beyond the surface. So today, I'm actually speaking with somebody who's in the same club that I am. Maxine Johnson is an amazing water safety campaigner who, like me, was never wanting to belong to this club. Maxine lost her son Reuben round about 3 months before I lost Chris, and ever since then we've been very close friends. Reuben was an amazing young man, and I'm sure Maxine's going to explain a little more about what she's done, what she does, and a little about Reuben, who was extremely special. Maxine, thank you for joining today. I know sharing Reuben's story isn't easy, but I also know how important it is. And after many conversations that we've had, can you start telling our listeners who you are, what drives your water safety work, please?
Yes, so I'm Maxine Johnson, as Debbie says, and I'm Reuben Morgan's mother, and I lost Reuben in 2006. And I guess in my grief, I kind of was determined to spread the word about drowning prevention and water safety. I didn't want any other family to go through what we had. And also, it kind of helped me focus my grief. And obviously, that's changed over time.
Tell us a little bit about Reuben, Maxine. Who was Reuben?
Reuben was a very funny, kind, energetic soul. He was extremely fit, sporty. He was loved by so many people. He had huge amount of friends, and that was from a very early age, in fact. And he was a strong swimmer too. But above it all, he was really loved.
And would you tell us, please, how Reuben drowned?
So, as I said, in 2006, it was an extremely hot summer's day. It was around 30 degrees, and Reuben had been camping with about 9 other friends up at Ponsticketh Reservoir, which is in the Powys area, on the border of Powys, between Powys and Merthyr Tydfil, and it's quite a remote area, a beautiful spot. And Reuben and his friends, 3 friends, saw a boat on the reservoir, and they decided they would get into this boat. And along came a warden from Welsh Water and said, boys, you can't go in there. And so they got out. So there were a number of boys with him, and 4 of them decided to get into the reservoir to swim to the other side where they were camping. It's a huge expanse of water, and I always say this, I never would have expected him to swim in there, which seems ridiculous now, but I just really thought that's just too risky. Something I would never do. I'm really risk averse. And like him, he was so daring and adventurous. So 4 of them got in, and sadly and awfully, tragically, 3/4 of the way across, cold water shock overcame Reuben, and he drowned. His friends, they tried their best. One friend in particular tried to, put him on his back. But, at the reservoir, there were no warning signs. There were no throw lines. There's no phone signal. They were all swimming quite a distance apart from each other. They didn't know the life-saving skills like the float to live, which could have helped. And they were wearing just a pair of shorts. And as you and I know, Debbie, the water on a hot day is extremely cold. So it was a really cold temperature and it was about 3 degrees. And that's just not safe to swim in, especially when you put all those things together. And on top of it all, they took 3 days to find his body, which was an added trauma on top of everything.
I always, when I'm in my classes, Maxine, I think we've discussed this many times. I talk about cold water shock a lot. I equate the temperature generally when cold water shock kicks in. Equate that with the temperature of your fridge at home, and people and teachers in schools are so shocked to see that, to hear that, and they
Yeah.
come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I just didn't know that."
Mhm.
Maxine, tell me the effect it had on you, your family, your friends. What did that do?
Well, I feel, at the time it kind of ripped us apart. It's been a real struggle. Some of the family still, find it hard to talk openly. I'm lucky in the sense that I am able to do that and, self kind of soothe myself, and through yourself and others, we've been in a similar position. We've been able to support each other as well. Um, but it's devastating. It's like Groundhog Day. 19 years, just, I could go there in a heartbeat every day. And you just, keep going through the campaigning. It just keeps you alive. It keeps their memory alive. And I feel, if he could speak, if he, this would be so important to him. It's his voice. I believe that I am it, and my voice, his voice has got stronger over the years, because in the beginning I found it, quite intimidating, I guess, speaking in public about it, because it's not an easy subject to talk about. It's very emotive. And, as with time and the more I've spoke about it, his voice has got stronger.
And it really is. We know that. I think what you've done is incredible. And there's a few of us in this club that have done some amazing things between us. So Maxine, tell us what you have done and where you started.
So it started way back in the early days, I would say, probably, in the first year, later in that first year, where Welsh Water contacted me and asked me would I like to speak. And that's where it all began, really. So it started doing campaigns with them. If they were doing anything, they would run something by me. And then, obviously, publicly, the media started asking me to talk about Reuben and what had happened. And then I've touched on, gone into the school where he was. And then later on down the line, done some work with Public Health Wales. But I'm at the point now where I just want to do as much as I can. So yeah, I'm taking any opportunity to share his voice. But yeah, so I think along the years, as I said, it's built up, and it's sort of always kind of started springtime, really, because of the weather situation, and more people or young people would be going into the water then. And then I was sort of worked with his school around an education program, which was pre-COVID, which was great. But obviously now, I think obviously the RNLI have got a good education program, but I do worry what's going on out there, because it's not part of the curriculum, and it should be. It should be like any other feature in the curriculum, really.
I think it is coming in slowly, and but I think there's an awful long way to go, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest with you, is my opinion. How do you feel about when we started, Maxine? I reiterate this quite a lot, and I mean, I remember that in 2006, Rossby figures were 6 years behind. how do you feel about the progress that we've made and other families? And I'm pleased with what's going on, but I still don't think it's enough. Where do you think the shortfalls are?
Yeah, I think it has progressed, as you say, a lot, but it has still got a long way to go, really. I mean, there's more data available than ever now. And I think, as part of the Wales Water Safety Forum that we're a part of, that group, that's become, louder and stronger as well. So I think with that, it's going to give us more strength and more, oomph really to push the agenda forward. But I think, as you say, there are gaps, and I think it's still with education. It's got to be starting there really. And I'm still shocked at the fact I just was sharing on LinkedIn not long ago about cold water shock, for example, and the amount of people that said they'd never heard of that. Was really surprising. And it just always hits me. There's more to do. There's so much more to do. We can't stop. And that's what I feel, and I've become so more passionate then when people say that. I think, oh, well, I'm assuming they know about that, but obviously they don't know about it. Yeah, so I did an interview yesterday with Heart and Capital Radio, and that was aired this morning. And somebody contacted me to say what a difference I'm making, and that just pushes me on even more. Then I'm thinking, oh gosh, that's so great to hear that when somebody says that,
Okay, and obviously about the main points that we all talk about, Maxine. If I was to ask you what your main 5 points are today, what would you want everyone to know about? Obviously, we spoke about cold water shock. I'd like your opinion on your 5 specific things that people need to know, in your opinion, and why.
So obviously, yeah, we've talked about cold water shock, but there are other factors, isn't it? It's knowing where your young person is going, for example. That's really key. And that they know about the Float to Live campaign. You are having those difficult conversations, because I know young people are not easy to talk to, and they will push you aside and they'll, off they will go. So that's incredibly important, and to make sure that obviously they've got a mobile phone, and if they, can be at a place where there's perhaps lifeguards, not so much in a remote open place. That's incredibly important. But know how to get help and know what to do in that circumstance. I think, those are my key messages, really. But it's important that communication is key, isn't it, really, with parents and young people? Because if I look back at what happened with Reuben, I mean, there's a lot of other things mixed up, but communication wasn't there really. And I would never have thought he would have done that, as I said. So that for me is a big priority.
And how do you feel about the community side of things, Maxine, in that, as families, about the support that's out there, and what more could be done in that capacity?
Yeah, I think there should be a lot more support out there. We've supported each other, and we just kind of stumbled upon each other, if you know what I mean. That it was, and there was nothing saying, oh, this is where you need to go. And I think the topic of drowning, there's lots of support groups for bereaved people, or or bereaved young people, but this is quite complex grief as well. And I think that in itself, if there was a group like we've got, more readily available for people when someone has drowned, when a young person has drowned, I think that is really essential. And going further back than that, obviously, when it's happened to you as well, there wasn't a lot of support there at the time. And, like, for example, in the hospital, there was nothing. It was atrocious, to be honest with you.
Me too.
Yeah, so there's still a long way to go with that, definitely. And there definitely needs to be more structure there around what is available. And if if you have lost someone to drowning, this is where you can go. Because I didn't feel any of that was there, really. And if we hadn't stumbled across each other, I don't know, I'd still be there floundering around probably.
Well, that's really nice. But I think we've both been just there for each other. In gosh, we've cried buckets and we've laughed a lot as well over the years. And I do remember when we first met, we couldn't stop crying.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
know.
remember that in
I
London?
know.
Oh my God! Oh, it was so
It was very
emotional.
emotional.
Oh,
Yeah.
blimey. Um,
Very.
it was. I really, we have had a discussion, haven't we, Maxine, that we are going to work together, and I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm hoping we can move that forward. I do think that maybe we could work on setting some kind of support system up with the knowledge that I've got, and especially with your expertise as well.
Yeah.
And I think it would be good to bring in people from other organisations, which is what I'm looking at doing at the moment. As you know, it's the 19-year anniversary tomorrow.
Oh, bless you.
Oh my God. Yeah, but I wanted to do something this year that was positive and emotive, and I've worked on this podcast now with the amazing help of this silent man in the background called Tom Stanhope, and he has put all this together. He's been a complete and utter flipping genius, and he's created this amazing podcast project that when he presses that button, it's going to go boom. And so thank you, Tom. I know you're hiding in the wings there, but we are so grateful. And
Yeah,
the
definitely.
lineup we've got is flipping incredible. As a last word, Maxine, what are you hoping that maybe the future will bring in drowning prevention? What do you think? What would be your
Yeah,
needs
so
and desires for the future? What's really important to you as a mother?
yeah. As I said, I've touched on some of it, I think, but I think national strategies, for example, better education and communities working together, really, to protect young lives. Even if, as we've always said this, if one life is saved through this work, then our children's legacy will live on, and that's really important to us.
Very much so. And Maxine, what would you want every parent listening to take away from Reuben's story in your advocacy work in
As I
particular?
said earlier, it's
One
just
thing.
just have those difficult conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Maxine, thank you for your time today, for sharing this amazing story about Reuben. I know Reuben's legacy will continue to protect families for many years to come, and I'm really, really excited to be working with you. I know it's been delayed, but I know we're going to get this project together, and I can't wait to work with you, Maxine. Thank you.
If today's conversation has connected with you in any way, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. To hear more powerful conversations like this one, like and subscribe. For practical resources from today's episode, please check out the details below, where you'll find free downloads, workshop information and ways that we can work together. If you're ready to take the next step in your family safety journey or your mental and spiritual well-being, I'd love to support you. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and remember, you have everything you need within you to protect what matters most.